Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here again and really face-to-face. I think I joined the last 2 Connect sessions also remotely, so it's a much better situation if we are seeing each other face-to-face. Then some introductory words. So I have also very deep connections with Dresden, I have to admit. I'm a kind of alumni. I'm an alumni of the Technical University Dresden. So I've been studying here, I've been living here for 10 years, so it's a pleasure always to return. First, second, to reiterate on this term alumni, part of the audience for me reminds me to the same. Looks like they are collected some alumni from the industry, 30 years. And the third, let's say, connection is Jochen talked about, no, you talked about the 30 years celebrations. I'm also now 30 years in the industry. Unbelievable. So I've seen a lot of those 2Gs, 3Gs. I've seen all Gs, if you like. And I have to admit, I liked in particular the picture by Jochen when he said, we shall not build again a G. Yeah, and when he reiterated, it reminded me to one of the problems which we all faced during the last, I would say, after the first hype of GSM was over, and we stepped over to 3G and 4G, we always have been struggling with the situation that the operators might be cornered into the area of connectivity, which should not be sufficient to their own ambitions and should also not be sufficient for the ambition of the total industry. So I'm really happy to have seen the kind of wake-up call by Telefonica, by Malit, as well as by Jochen, linking the industry back to the vivid and flexibility and the promises of a flourishing industry. So, still not my presentation. So it's been called Huawei Keynote, by the way. Version 3, it's a PDF. You should find it. So, I have to, I think I don't need to introduce Huawei. So the presentation will be kind of reflecting also our view to the total, let's say, evolution from the past, the status where we are with 5G, the way we have to go forward. And I would love to reiterate on the perception that 5G as an enabling technology is a kind of consolidating one, and part of the principles which have been established with 5G will potentially stay forever. It's like the announcement of Microsoft once they said there will be no new Windows anymore. There will be always in reiteration, and let's see what will be the real difference in terms of fundamental building blocks, technology building blocks between 5G and 6G, but this is up to the future, and I'm not going to touch this today. So if we look to the 5G at all, then we see that it is a well-established technology. Meanwhile, we have numerous networks around the world. Over 200 going to be launched by 2021 already. There's the announcement of the GSMA that the 1 billion subscriber, let's say, penetration rate will be hit this year. The number of smartphones is amazing. Every region of this world, every country which is launching 5G bases it also or accompanies this launch by the clear and keen interest in digitalization and digital, let's say, strategies for modernizing their societies in terms of digitalization for the future. So it's just a takeaway. It's a rock-solid technology. And we also see, and this is coming later, that it might be the one which is with ultimate capabilities for the future. And this is reflected on the next picture. As you see, the growth of 4G is already declining if you take a total aggregate over the world. So, of course, this is a widespread perception. We have developed markets which are running on high pace in this 5G pace, in the 5G deployment race. They achieve, meanwhile, up to 60% of penetration rates. But we also have a number of countries which are still struggling with the, not struggling, but are still with the situation that they have growth in 4G and need to tackle the situation to migrate towards 5G. So this is an overall picture. It's recent and it reflects or depicts the situation globally. Next one. Oh, is it the next? Yes. What is the fundament? And this is, of course, known, I think, to everybody of you. Spectrum frequencies are the fundament pillar of the growth and the build of wireless networks, mobile networks in particular. And we basically distinguish three kind of phases of the utilization of spectrum with regard to 4G, 4G, 5G, 5G. So it starts with a phase one, where the traditional 4G layers are built in the traditional legacy lower mid bands and in the legacy low band, hence digital dividend 1 and the former GSM band, which then is being followed by a 4G, 5G coordination, where you establish first C-band as one of the 5G primary bands, together with the low band, 600, 700. So you know 700 being freed up 2015 already in Germany and becoming deployed from 2019-20 on. And then we have this ultimate 5G phase 3, where all bands gonna be utilized with 5G, and maybe the lower bands, like for instance 700, gonna be transferred or transformed to a kind of supplemental bands, either up or downlink, depending on the strategies of the individual operators. So the reason for that is very easy. There was an IMT 2020 set of capabilities which have been summarized with the peak data rates, the user experience, and the latency and the mobility capability. And in order to achieve that, you need to provide or you need to utilize these spectrum resources. What are the driving forces for the time being for the 5G? This seems to be well known. I think everybody should be aware of. So video is the most demanding driver because it spills the majority of traffic demand into the networks. And the, let's say, the starting point was, I would bet on, was 4G. So I don't know who of you uses, by the way, YouTube regularly on its smartphone. Would somebody raise its hand? Not that many, and I would also figure more the younger ones. I disclose a secret by myself. I use it heavily, and I'm the representative of the elder ones, maybe. But we expect for the future, and it has been already mentioned, of course, the evolution towards virtual and augmented reality and personal live broadcast, which is also a very demanding service. And in these times of social networking and, let's say, self-expression, it is a kind of, let's say, massively demanding trend. But we also see lots of new services coming up in the future in all the three areas, to customer, to home, and to business, which imposes lots of demand to the networks. Why I bring it up, it becomes more visible later on. So we see an expectation of 2.2 billion users of 5G in 2025 already. One of the, let's say, flourishing businesses is at least indeed the fixed wireless access. So that means the substitution or the complement of fiber to the home with the two steps of capabilities in 4G and 5G. And this is the most important statement, but the industry potential is outpacing the other one by far. So that is one of the promises for the future, that we hope that this technology, which we are talking about, and which everybody is introducing and everybody tries to implement, is in the industry use. There is an observation in the market what you need to do in order to potentially generate money out of this 5G. And we call it here a kind of phased approach, which you observe when you have achieved a 20% penetration rate within the 5G network with users, then you might be able, in a, let's say, smart and flexible combination, and the flexibility Jochen talked about, you need in your networks for tariffs, for service offerings, for flexible combinations, for flexible subscription and management. Then you can achieve a kind of business add-on in your traditional 2C business as well. But it is indeed a combination of capability and the flexibility, the capability of the network to absorb new services, the flexibility to offer them, to combine them with the strength. So it's the real service play which shows that it creates value for the operators. It's a clear takeaway. It's been proven by individual operators, and we fortunately see the one or the other sign in Germany as well for that, which is how can I say, it's encouraging. Because we as an industry, we of course depend on that what we deliver, that we can offer, would provide value which is being paid and by customers. We have, of course, I'm Huawei, we have our home country and our home market in China. We collected a couple of insights in China where we have a very, very vivid path towards industrial use of 5G capabilities. So if you check the growth rates in terms of how many innovation projects are running, contracts, how many mobile edge computing application environments have been set up, and see the carriers to be contract revenue and the major industries which are involved, then you see the industry domain starts to kick off, starts to develop as well, and starts to provide service. Of course, starts to provide, let's say, revenue. Of course, we have to reflect and to respect the four demands which we observed when we talk to B customers, to industries, etc. Everybody is struggling with those 4 points. Yeah? Is there a digitalization willingness? Is there a wish for digitalization? Is there a keen interest in it? Is there affordability, let's say, calculated? Means, does this digitalization indeed provide, let's say, the benefits which are expected? Is there the capability to implement? So it means it's a kind of skill situation. And of course, for us, as we are providing parts of those solutions, in particular in the industry, it's also a question, are the use cases able to be scaled? Can we multiply them, etc.? And our finding is exactly, yes, we can. We have now experience in these areas of manufacturing, steel and iron, mining, seaport, and chemical industry, where certain use cases start to scale and to repeat from one to the next, let's say, campus. And this, of course, is a very encouraging message because it, again, tells us we can provide value measured in terms of business. So reiterating on that, so these are the three, let's say, major discussions which we always face. It's a situation, what about the return of invest? What about the experience for transformation? How many new technologies I have to cope? So these are the discussions which pretty much reflect what I think everybody here, in particular the operators and also campus network developers, would face when they talk to their clients and talk to their customers. So, but the encouraging message is, it's just how ambitious you are in your transformation. If the transformation ambition is high enough, then you are certainly secured that you will develop value, you will succeed and will have benefits. All the speeches before lead me to the situation that even a fundamental technology like 5G still needs to be enhanced. So the topic is, and this is one of our main play fields, we care a lot about digital technologies, digital infrastructure in terms of connectivity, computing, and intelligence. And we made once a proposal for how could the picture look alike to extend the traditional 5G triangle, we called it at that time 5.5G vision. And we found that there are 3 additional corners which need to be further developed. And without going into too much details, part of them has been also accepted by the biggest and most successful, let's say, industrial standardization ecosystem in this world at all, by the 3GPP. So I would give us all together a cheering because we are all a part of this technology. We can be proud on that since, I think, the beginning of the 2000s, we develop and we succeed to unite the industry behind certain targets, certain goals, and develop a very, very successful technology further and further. I used to say, because I'm sometimes asked, what is it good for? It's the most successful, let's say, ecosystem ever created in terms of volume, in terms of time, in terms of innovation capability along the own mission, which is mobile networking. So just as a statement, we have there now a consolidated 5G Advanced. It has been released by end of this year. All the candidate study items and work items have been agreed upon. The ecosystem is working on it successfully, and it will strive forward for those items of release 18, which will unlock further dimensions of the business in future, taking, for instance, the reduced capability evolution, so the 5G IoT dimension, or the uplink enhancements, which help a lot in covering or attacking the problem which we are facing, that the uplink capacity is being demanded a lot, in particular in industrial use cases, or also the extended reality and artificial intelligence and machine learning approaches. So everything has been accepted by the industry, has been accepted by the ecosystem, and everybody is cooperatively or cooperatively working on it, but this is one of the strengths of our community. And to give you a further extension, it's more a little bit reaching out to the day tomorrow. There's not only a 5.5G on the left-hand side, which is the mobile part. It needs to be complemented also by the fixed part, so there's a similar approach and a similar thinking. What are the dimensions the fixed network solutions, the fiber network solutions have to develop in order to address this new class of requirements, which we in particular receive from the industrial use. So looking for and for the requirements or the problems the implementation faces, like for instance failure demarcation in fiber. So this is the optical sensing and visualization, where you will be able to, for instance, identify a broken fiber or let's say non-correctly working fiber within a certain precision in order to help the operation and the repair of the backbones also of the mobile networks. And there are other ones, for instance, the green dimension. We are all part of this. And the target is that also these technologies will enable the medical aid, the production, the industrial design, virtual gaming dimensions with their particular demands. If you look, for instance, for the holographic projection requirements, this is immense, and we need still step aheads in the technology for that. So I have been introduced to talk about security. So, and I will not forget, and this is maybe also a message which we as a community can deliver. So there was a lot and heated debate about the 5G security in the past 3 years. We have somehow been also in this spotlight of these discussions for whatever reason. I don't want to go to these details. The message I want to send here is the industry is mature enough also to address and to discuss those topics. I don't know who of you knows this 5G cybersecurity knowledge base. Does somebody raise his hand? Wow. Okay, but I'm the one presenting, so it would be not a surprise that I know. The message which goes away here is, again, you see here the best of breed of technology discussion, which is the 3GPP in our technologies, the best expert and a collection on Europe level, the ENISA, the GSMA again as this mobile network industry, let's say, association and ecosystem, and the NIST, yeah, the National Institute of Standardization of the Americas, all put together their insights into the threat landscape, in the risk assessment, in the, let's say, protection measures, technology-wise as well as organizational-wise. And this is not a reinvention of a security catalog or security concept which you have to deliver here into the market due to the regulations by the regulator, BMI and BSI, but it is for sure a kind of complement that you can have a look at and you can have a take of proofreading for your own concepts you operate, and you may have a health check or you may get some further, let's say, motivation or some further insights which would help you to provide this secure operation, which is being expected and by any right expected by the public. So last but not least, I would love to give, let's say, shed a light on a little part or little innovation contribution by Huawei. So you know we are constantly working on the engineering and the incremental innovation of wireless solutions, wireless components. And here is the latest example, which we call Meta Advanced Antenna Unit. What is the engineering beauty of it? So, you know, advanced antenna units, beamforming antennas, they are able to steer, to provide now the directed coverage and the directed supply of end users. And here, the little, or maybe it's not a little, because it's a lot of material science and engineering necessary, but we extended this traditional antenna dipole field or pattern. We double it actually, and with doubling of it, we achieve the, let's say, KPIs which are listed on the right side. And why does it matter? And it doesn't matter, and it's green, it has been depicted in green, because it addresses one of the very big issues which we face to reduce the power consumption and to better improve the bit per watt efficiency of each and any network. And from our perspective, since 5G relies on those types of products, this is a substantial contribution along to the sustainable development goals, sustainability development goals, here in particular to the part of industrial innovation and for the operation of our clients, introducing more and more efficient 5G services to the market. And with that, I thank you for your attention. Thank you for your patience to listen.